for me to be able to jump into a sales director position, despite not having like the traditional sales path that everybody had. So those definitely helped. Having those relationships and those letting them know, to your point, like what are my goals, what are my aspirations, letting them know my accomplishments, what I can do, all of that.
Our voices, stories, and experiences are powerful and need to be shared to create a more inclusive world. Welcome to Hablemos, conversations with talented humans about inclusion, leadership, and purpose. I'm your host, Carolina Veira, finance and business strategist, DEI champion, and proud Latina. I'm also the director of partnerships at CareMax, where I lead initiatives to promote the value of healthcare, education, inclusion, entrepreneurship, and community engagement, while fostering partnerships with other corporations and organizations in the U.S. This episode features Ilhiana Rojas, owner of BeLIVE Coaching and Consulting. Ilhiana has over 20 years of executive experience working for Fortune 500 companies, leading and coaching professionals, teams, and businesses into success. Her mission is to impact professionals by fostering new skills, attitudes, and behaviors with action-driven blueprints, resulting in positive career and workplace performance. Let me take this moment to say thank you for being here. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for all the great work that you've been doing, highlighting, all of us, because I think it's really, really important to help each other elevate our voices. Well, I'm Ilhiana Rojas Saldaña. I'm originally from Mexico, born and raised in Mexico City. My whole family lives there, and my husband's Mexican, my kids are Mexican. Like that's the origin, and that's where I have been until the last 10 years before we moved to the U.S. And the story, I would say, really starts when I graduated from chemical engineering. A lot of years ago. And that was in a time where women, were not necessarily in that engineering kind of area. I mean, still, it's very small, but at least now there are a little bit more women. And I studied chemical engineering, not because I wanted to be a chemical engineer, but because one, I was good at, math and science, and definitely I had that analytical thinking mindset. So I wanted to lean on something that I was good at. And I believed that doing that would help me, moving forward to do anything that I wanted, to really hone in on that analytical process and process-oriented mindset. And I share that as a beginning because I think a lot of us now, and even some of the clients that I work with, feel that once you study something, especially, the younger generations, they have to stay there, and that's where they have to grow. And I have to say that the moment that I graduated, I went straight into marketing. So nothing to do with it, but it's been that engineering mindset and all the process that I learned through that has really been critical in going forward and being successful. And then, like I said, I went into marketing and then sales, and I had a really great corporate professional career in Fortune 500 companies, most of it in Mexico. And until I got to that executive position And I had really incredible roles and opportunities until there came a point that I was through that able to come to the US to a more global role in the corporate offices here in the US. And then finally, after 20 something years in 2018, I decided that my corporate path was no longer something that I was enjoying and that excited me. It became a job. And that's when I stepped out. I stepped, out and started my own company and really go back to leaning on my purpose and be excited to wake up in the morning and jump out of bed and love what I'm doing every day. So that's sort of like fast forward around 30 years of my life.
Wow. No, and it's a beautiful story because just like you said, maybe you start thinking that you have to stick in one area or in one industry, not knowing and not realizing that there's opportunity everywhere as long as there's a passion behind it, right? And you're proof of that.
Definitely. And I think leaning on our strengths. Now I'm clear on my strengths. Before, right. I wasn't, like you assume, but like you're not clean. But honing in on those and leaning on those and bringing them through everything that you do definitely is key to being successful in whatever you put your mind to.
But now you mentioned that you work at Fortune 500 organizations, and obviously then you transition here and you get the bigger role. What did it take for you to be considered for those roles? Because what happens a lot with particularly, obviously women, we have those challenges, but particularly Latino women, it takes a while, or it takes double the work, so it seems, to be considered for those roles, right? Or for those opportunities. And you kind of have to be sending an email and another one and reminding people, hey, and raising your hand again and again and again and again to be considered and to be seen. So what did it, as a personal story, what did it take you to get there, to be considered?
You're absolutely right. And I have to say that for me, it took 10 years. Like I was on a very fast track to get to that executive position from the moment that I started. And I have to attribute it to having the right mentors or building those strong relationships with great mentors, great advocates, great sponsors that were always like, on the one hand, pushing me out of my comfort zone. Like I can remember so many stories of them like pushing me and me like, I really can't, but okay, like let me go and do this. And on the other hand, they were advocating for me, all along. So I had, like I said, I started my career doing marketing and then a position for sales opened up. And in order to get to an executive position, I had been told that I needed both the marketing and the sales expertise to really be considered for an executive position. So jumping after many years of being in marketing into sales was not like something easy to do. Right. But again, the having those advocates for me that knew that I could do the work, they were the ones that put my name out there for me to be able to jump into a sales director position, despite not having like the traditional sales path that everybody had. So those definitely helped. Having those relationships and those letting them know, to your point, like what are my goals, what are my aspirations, letting them know my accomplishments, what I can do, all of that really helped in me being able to grow at a pretty fast track to get to those positions. Now, I didn't do that on purpose. I have to be totally transparent. Like it just naturally happened. I think now I tell everybody, like, if I would have been more intentional, who knows what I could have done? Because I think intentionality definitely helps like accelerate even more, getting to where you want.
And it's great that you mentioned how persistent you were in making sure they knew that you wanted that role or that you wanted to be part of that project, or letting them know your accomplishments, because that's part of how you grow, right? It's also letting them know that this is what you do and it's okay. It's not about saying that you're this or that, or you're the greatest thing on earth, but it's more about advocating for yourself. It's more about knowing that those opportunities will come to you, but you have to step in and you have to show up, right?
Yes, definitely.
And when you train all these wonderful women that you work with, because you're also a coach, obviously, what does it seem to say, or to be the biggest barrier or mental barrier, to be more precise, that they encounter in their professional lives?
You're absolutely right. Mindset is the number one thing, and it's a lack of self-confidence, of imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. We start off believing in ourselves and knowing what we're good at, and then somewhere along the way, something happens that we start losing that self-confidence, that we start doubting that we have the ability to do the things that we want. And there are many, many reasons why that happens. But the reality is that actually, as you grow more in your career, I see those even like getting more amplified, those barriers, those doubts. I remember, and this even happened to me, like as an executive or as a leader, in certain positions, you're smiling like, I got this. And inside, you're like trembling, like, I hope they don't find out that I don't got this, that I have no idea. And that consumes you, like internally, like, do I really know what I'm doing? Am I really going to be able to do this? And we stop believing in ourselves, and that, hurts our self-confidence along the way. And one thing, these inner voices, one thing goes after another. And that really has become to the point of, I don't know, what I'm doing. When I told you about these, before I moved out of corporate, these last 3 years of, becoming a job, those I don't wish on anybody. Like the self-doubt, the depression, the lack of self-confidence, I don't want to get out of bed anymore. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like those feelings of failure, like I don't wish on anybody. And it's really our mind, our mindset that has been pulled to that position. And I think, a good place.
And I think many women go through that. And I want to associate the type of work that you do, that it's coaching women, coaching professional women, coaching entrepreneurs, with kind of like that therapy session that we all need in our lives, particularly in our professional lives, just because we are working all the time. So it seems all the time, right? But you wake up and that's your job is, or your place of employment. If you're going in person, it's your family too. It becomes your family, but it becomes part of your regular life, obviously. And you need that someone to remind you, hey, you're doing great and you're kicking ass. Sorry. But all those things that you need to be successful.
Yes, completely agree. And I'm an introvert. So for a very long time, like building relationships has been a struggle. And I believed that I had to do things on my own. And that was what got me to be successful. And of course I could, work on teams and do a lot of things, but my go-to default was doing things. Like I was the one that had to, do every step of the way, and asking for help was not an option. And like all of those things, because I thought, like I'm Superwoman. Everybody's told me that,
right,
that's the way to do things. So, and I truly believed that. And now, not only from personal experience, but through the work that I do, I've come to realize that we together, like that's how we're able to overcome all those barriers. We're able to see blind spots that we don't see. It's like driving a car and having, your rear view mirrors, like that's your coaches, your advocates, your mentors, like all the people around you that are telling you all these things that you can't see and that are helping you to be able to be better every day. And even just like you said, like that, animal, no?
Right.
Kind of,
yeah.
like you can do this,
that
like
push.
you got this, like no, It is
And you know
mad.
what? And not only, obviously, maybe you cannot be coach every week or every day, like some people would want to be coach, me, one of them. But maybe that's when you join a group or a professional group of women who are going through the things that you're going through. And that also helps, right? But then to your point, it's about gathering all those voices, all those stories, all those humans, all those women, and having that network of support.
Absolutely. Like I said, for a long time, I thought that it was me, myself, and I,
right.
Again, with these great people around me, but in my mind, it was like just me. And then for the last 3 years, well, almost 4 now, I've been building like these network and these communities and these group of just incredibly amazing men and women that I admire for a lot of things, and that we have so many different things in common of all different aspects of my life. It can be professional, it can be personal, it can be career, it can be business, it can be just passions, random, like the weekend passion, whatever it is. Because I've learned the value of connecting and to feeling like that belonging, that sense of inclusion that we now are talking about, not only at work, but just in general, and knowing that you're not alone. In the end, we do live in community, no matter where you are. We're beings that are meant to, be with each other, and just knowing that if you feel sad, like sometimes I can wake, in the morning feeling icky, like, oh my God, today's just not the day. For some reason, you can't even put your finger on it. And just knowing that I can text a lot of people, like more than my, both my hands together, saying, I just need a pick me up. Like right. That, I don't even have to text it. Just knowing that I can do that and somebody will immediately send a note, do this, do that. Like that in itself just makes me feel like, okay, I got this. I can get over it, because you're absolutely right. It's about, having those groups, those people that you can, lean on for a lot of different things.
Hi everybody, hola a todos, this is Carolina. I personally would like to invite you to be part of Hablemos by heading over to carolinaveira.com/Hablemos to sign up today. And while you're there, take a look at my DEI initiatives and discover how we can all be agents of change by creating sustainable projects through a DEI lens, and by sharing and celebrating our authentic stories and experiences while leading with compassion and empathy. And thank you for building that community. I can't wait to meet all these wonderful women. Particularly, let's talk about your book. You have these 12 amazing stories. The book is the name of the book is Extraordinary Latinas. Tell us more about the book. What are the stories about, and when is the book out, and when can we buy it?
Yes, well, it's available now for pre-order at extraordinarylatinas.com. And this book came about because like I said, I really want to elevate the voices of so many incredible women that have helped me along the way for a lot of different reasons. And there are many more beyond this book that I just think are amazing. But it's because I do feel, and you'll see it in everywhere that I show the book, that our voices are special. Like I honestly believe that it's our stories and our voices that connect us beyond words, that connect us like through the stories, the experiences that we live, ups and downs, whatever it is. And through those stories, we heal and we empower each other to become even stronger. And it was many of those stories that pulled me out of this hole that I was in 3 years ago, by learning and, other women that had gone through similar experiences or other experiences, but I connected. And it was seeing them, overcome them, that they inspired me, that they empowered me, that they made me not feel alone. Some of them, maybe I didn't even know who they were, but just hearing their stories made me more, stronger and courageous and fearless to then say, I can do this. And that feeling, I want to like elevate for everybody else and share with the world and say, we all have had similar experiences, and we all have, been able to get out of these moments and be just extraordinary. I do believe that we all have that power of being extraordinary in some way or other. That's the value that we bring to the world. So that's what the book is about. It's about sharing, 12 incredible stories from different Latinas, all, different types of stories that have gone through incredible journeys to be the great women, the extraordinary women that are today. And the reason why we are all together in this book is because not only because of the stories, but because we are all like open to connecting and elevating other women. This is not like your only book that you're going to read and get inspired and going to say, oh my God, this is a great story. Like there's resources in the book, there's links in the book to get connected with each and every one of us, because you can count on each of us to lend a hand and to help you out no matter what. Because, that's who somebody else helped us. And now that's our way to give back. So that's sort of going beyond just the book, to build that community of continuing to help, each other and other Latinas and other women just rise.
Yeah, no, and that's amazing, because I know for a fact that's true. I know Anna, and I know you, and I know the type of work that you guys are doing, and it's fantastic. But it's wonderful to know that, you're building this community and that we can all be a part of, because sometimes communities are built, groups are built and are created, and you don't get, you still don't feel like you can actually be yourself and that you're part of it. But knowing that you guys are open to sharing your stories and sharing your experiences, that goes a long way, because we all go through similar situations. It's just about knowing how to manage them, right? And knowing that you've been through that, it creates that sense of, oh, okay, if you did it, then I can probably deal with it too, right?
Yes, totally. And even if you might not, like there are times that you're like, I just need somebody to tell me how, and you don't know who to ask, or you don't feel like, you have the connection or the contact or the confidence, whatever it is, like reach out to us. We've actually built, also, we've just started a group on LinkedIn also called Extraordinary Latinas. And that's the idea, to continue, elevating each other's voices, sharing each other's successes. Because you said at the beginning, we're not good at celebrating and talking about ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we can't all do it for each other.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And so that's the idea of this group, to really share, support, be there and be that source of connection when you need it the most, and then be able to pay back for others. Because that's going to be, that's what Hispanic Star does also. Like it's about just holding each other's hands so that we can all rise together.
Absolutely. No, you said it perfectly. And to be that network of support. And yeah, I mean, it's fantastic that I can celebrate you and your success, and it comes more natural, right, than just talking about me. But if I talk about somebody else, I guess it's easier, at least for women in general. It feels like it's more natural. Let me ask you though, because I haven't had a chance to ask this question to you, and I do want to know, first of all, what's your why? I don't want to forget to share with me what's your why. Why are you doing it? Creating a community? Why are you writing books? Why are you coaching women? Why women? Why Latino women? But also share with us a life story that really made you the person who you are today, so accomplished, but so in tune with what's needed in our community.
Yeah. So, well, My why is, like I said earlier, because I honestly believe that we are all extraordinary. Like every day, I'm at awe of the people that I talk to. Everybody, doesn't matter who, and all the great things that they do, and they don't know. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so wonderful. And then they look at me like, no, like I do that, whatever. And I'm like, no, like you are.
You're right.
We really need to celebrate all of those great, extraordinary things that we do. So that I think is making sure, or helping and supporting people to understand and to embrace who they are, and really like give themselves a pat on the back. We do a lot of things, and I think it's about focusing on the good and not on like the negative sides of things, because we do extraordinary things. So that's part of what I do. And then how did I get here? I think there are a lot of things that have shaped me who I am today. Obviously, my family, my mom. I have a keynote that I share where I share my mom's story and my abuela's story, and I think that's a big part of just embracing our heritage and the resilience of our culture and of our tias, abuelas, madres, all of that, and that have that resiliency and that fearlessness to move and to do things. Definitely that has been, now I embrace it. And I know, and I'm like, yes, that's why I'm doing it.
Right.
But I think the other thing that the things is seeing, like I every time that I'm afraid, and believe me, it comes more often than not. Every time that I feel in that uncomfort, I just have to think about other people that are looking at me or that are coming behind me. And I'm like, I can't stop here, because then what's the example that I'm going to give to my kids, to these other women? How can I ask the people that I coach to face their fears, to overcome, to bring this positive mindset, to do all these things if I don't do it myself? And I think that's what I've done throughout my life. Every time that I've encountered any challenge, I cry and I'm afraid, and I found myself in these terrible moments, but then I give myself like 5 seconds to pull myself together and say, okay, now I just need to pick myself up, like go like this and move forward, because there's a lot of people that have already paved the way in front of me, and I wouldn't be doing them the honor of just sitting here. And then there's a lot of other people coming behind me. So I've had my moment of crisis. Now I just need to like moving on. And that's also part of the reason of the book, that it was one of my fears. So I'm like, I can't keep telling people to face their fears, and I'm not facing one. So
let's write a book.
So let's write a book. Why not?
I love that, because you mentioned, oh yeah, I was afraid of writing a book, therefore I wrote a book. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm afraid of bungee jumping. I guess I'll go bungee. No, I thank you so much for sharing that, because I think many women out there need to hear that. And exactly what you said, you become a leader, and as a leader, you need to keep pushing ahead and making sure that you hold doors open for others, because those people also need opportunities, and we are the ones who are creating that change, and have a duty, a sense of responsibility to the future generations.
Absolutely.
No, totally. Let me ask you though, before, I know that we're close to the time, but I want to know, for those women who are entrepreneurs that maybe they think that they cannot keep studying or learning, or that they have all these other expenses to take care of because they have a business, or they have to dedicate all their time to running the business and helping the business grow, and they don't allocate some time to themselves and their professional growth or their personal growth. What is your recommendation to those women out there?
I think I would say, write down like your day. What is like, is it five? Sometimes we think in our minds and that all of these things are going to take a long time. And the reality is that sometimes it's just 5 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes just write it down what it is, because once you pull it out of your mind and you put it on a piece of paper, things get perspective, and that you'll be able to then allocate that time. And it can just be right now I'm just going to sit. Sometimes I just drop myself on my floor and look at the ceiling, and I'm like, for the next 5 minutes I'm just going to think of nothing. And that's my me time. But that's enough to ideas start flowing, energy starts, all of these things start happening. I know of other people that go out and walk or do other things. It doesn't have to be a long time. It can just be small things here and there, but those small things actually can have great impact, with everything. So don't keep it as the maybe next year, maybe next time, maybe just pick one. Do it today, do it tomorrow, and then from there, things will follow.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ilhiana, for sharing your wisdom, your community, your book, everything that you are with all of us, because we need more women who are able to raise their voice and share their stories, because that's the way that we all grow and we all elevate each other, like you said. If there's anyone out there who wants to reach out to you personally, how do they do it?
Definitely on my LinkedIn page, Ilhiana Rojas. That's where I am. My website, BeLIVEcoach.com, BELIVE coach.com, and then also in extraordinarylatinas.com. So either way, great way to connect.
Everybody can find you. And let's not forget, Extraordinary Latinas comes out on September 15, right in time for Hispanic Heritage Month. That could be a great present at work. Definitely. To share those stories with other women in your organizations, in your teams. So let's do it. Let's support each other, because that's what it's all about, supporting our community. So thank you so much, Ilhiana. Thank you again for sharing your story, your wisdom, your love with all of us. It's very much appreciated.
No, thank you so much for the space, Carolina. You're doing an incredible job, and Hispanic Star also. So thank you so much.
Yes, and let's not forget September 15th through October 15th, Hispanic Heritage Month. All the information is at hispanicstar.org. Thank you so much and have a good one. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast today, and also send me a DM at Caro Veira. Share the love, share the comments, share the thoughts. Special thanks to our partners at the Hispanic Star and Catuna Digital Marketing. Gracias mil. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll be back next time with a new episode of Hablemos. Ciao.